Howdy folks, it's Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician here, making another video for you out of Boise, Idaho, concerning the 99-2000 Suzuki Grand Vitara timing and water pump job for the 2.5 and 2.7 liter engines. Now, installing the timing on this vehicle is a big job. It's very tedious. You need to pay attention to detail. Take your time while doing it. Don't get frustrated and be patient. One of the things that you're going to want to use while installing the timing is going to be a crescent wrench. That way you can grab a hold of your camshafts and make fine-tune adjustments as you're installing your chain. Now let's go ahead and look and see where all the marks are on these chains. On the secondary chain on the passenger side, in order to remove and replace, you are going to have to remove your camshafts and reinstall with the new chain. You want to line your marks up on your camshafts with your silver link, if you can see that there, with your silver link on your chain on both sides, okay? And then you're going to come out to the front here and you're going to install your new right hand intake cog, your timing cog. And on that timing cog you're going to have some marks. All right, you're going to have a notch right here. Let me see if I can get the camera to autofocus there. See if I can get you that, show you that mark. It's going to be hard to see, but you're going to have a notch right here, and that's what you're going to use to line up your colored link, all right? And then in order to make sure that this side is set to TDC correctly, you're going to have a notch right here, and right behind this notch on the block is going to be a little nipple, a little drop, basically is what it looks like. You can't see it now, and you're going to want this notch to be directly in front of the little nipple that's on the block, okay? And that's how you know this is set correctly. Now you're going to come over here to your driver's side, and on your driver's side on your main chain, on your idler, if I can get you back in there to see. Okay, so on your main idler here, for your main chain, you're also going to have a notch. This is terrible camera work, guys, I'm sorry. There you go. So you're also going to have a mark and a notch to line up your main chain. You can see it right there and there. So already you're going to have on your main chain, on the passenger side, on the intake, you're going to have one notch with a colored link, and then you're going to have a second notch right here that you're going to line up on the engine block with the mark. Then on the idler over here, you're going to have your third notch with a colored link. And then you're going to come down here to the bottom, and you're going to make sure that your crankshaft is at 6 o'clock with the colored link, and you want the keyway of the crankshaft to be at 12 o'clock. And this is going to be your mark right here that you see. There's an oil porthole behind here, so this is going to be the mark that you're going to line your crankshaft up with. Once you have those marks lined up accordingly with the marks on your cogs, then you're good to go ahead and lay in your main chain, set in your timing, guide rails, and tensioners, but whatever you do, don't pull them yet, okay? Then on your secondary chain on the driver's side, you're going to want the keyways of your camshafts to be pointing in about the 5 o'clock and the 8 o'clock positions, all right? So right there and right there. Let me see if I can get a good straight shot at that for you. And then with those pointing at that position, you'll have your notch. That's going to line up with your colored link here. You can see that's going to be at the 11 o'clock position. And then you're going to have another one here, as you can see, and that's going to be at about 3 o'clock position. And then you're going to go ahead and on your idler, again on your idler, if you've installed your main primary chain correct, then you'll have an arrow here pointing straight down, and that's what you're going to line your other colored link up to. And just go ahead and get all that installed. And again, in order to do this, it's best to go ahead and use a crescent wrench on your camshaft so you can fine-tune and adjust these cams and stuff as you set your timing chain in. And again, it's going to take some time, especially if you've never done it before. Be very patient. set aside a full day to lay these chains in accordingly, because if you don't lay them in properly and you start this engine, you take a risk of blowing it up. I mean, you'll destroy this engine within the first 30 seconds of starting it. So just do that accordingly. Now, after you've confirmed that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then remember you've got 1 in here, so 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you've got the 1 down here, number 9. So after you've confirmed that you've got 9 marks lined up, ready to go, you can go ahead and you can turn this engine over. Now, the thing about lining up timing chains with the links, with the colored links, when you turn this engine over, it doesn't matter what engine you're working on. When you turn an engine over to test it, the only thing that you're going to be lining up is going to actually be the timing marks for the engine. You will never get the links, the colored links, to match back up with the top marks. And actually, let me rephrase that. Never being able to get the color links to match up is actually not true. There's a mathematical formula that you can do based off of how many teeth are on the crank cog and the intake and exhaust cogs. There's a mathematical formula that you can put together that will show you how many turnovers of the engine need to take place for the marks to line back up. I think in most cases, if you actually wanted all the marks to line back up perfectly, you'd have to turn the engine over some odd like 92 to 120 times, basically, and then that would eventually bring these color links back to their marks. So, in all honesty, you're never going to get those colored marks to line back up. You're just going to go off of the main marks and the fact that the crankshaft is brought back to the 12 o'clock position. Another thing to keep in mind when checking timing is because of the difference in the size of the cogs on a crankshaft and camshafts, it takes 2 full rotations of the bottom half of the engine to equal 1 rotation on the top. So if you only turn the engine over 1 full time, so 1 rotation, 1, then the top of the engine has actually only turned half a rotation. To get it to turn the other half, you've got to go 2 full rotations just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it real quick and get set up to turn this engine over by hand, so that way we can check it and make sure it's not going to blow up when we start it. Alrighty folks, so now I'm going to go ahead and turn this engine over. I don't want to get my arm in the way. Now remember, 2 full rotations because of the difference in the size of cogs on your crankshaft compared to your camshaft. It takes 2 full rotations on the crankshaft to equal 1 full rotation on your camshafts. So let's see if our marks are going to line up here. I'm going to pull my tensioners. And here we go. Okay, so that is 1 full rotation on the crankshaft, and now my marks are exactly opposite of where they originally were, and that's good. So let's go ahead and do 1 more full rotation. And as you're rotating this, you want to feel for any resistance that you have. If you feel any resistance, you need to stop and you need to redo this job over again, because at that point you have valves that are coming into contact with pistons and you could possibly bend one, and now you just turned a $1,000 job into a $2,000 job. So those are just numbers, by the way, throwing at you. You just turned a hard job into an even harder job. Alright, so now we're coming back around. And our crankshaft is back at the 12 o'clock position. As you can see down there, actually I could probably move it just a hair. So our crankshaft is now, after 2 full rotations, back at the 12 o'clock position per our mark. And now we're going to double check everything. So remember, you've got 1. Those marks are in the correct spot. and we're good. So remember, your colored links are not going to match back up with the marks on your crankshafts, camshafts, or anything like that. Again, there is a mathematical formula that you can put together based off of how many teeth are on the crankshaft times how many teeth are on your camshafts, and that actually will tell you how many times you have to turn this crankshaft over if you wanted your colored marks to line back up. But again, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be an insane number. It's going to be something like 92 times. And to sit here and turn that thing 2 times over times 92 is literally going to take you all day long. So again, we just want to double check. Our camshaft marks are where they need to be. Everything is matched and lined back up, and we are good to go. And while turning it over, everything turned over smooth. So at this point, it is time to get all the covers and accessories back on this engine, get it started up, and get it out of here. All right, everybody. Well, this is Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician. I really appreciate you coming and hanging out with me. If you have any questions, get back to me. I really enjoy interacting with you guys. I also enjoy learning from you. So any constructive criticism you might have, send it my way. Any questions you might have, get a hold of me. I'm really good about getting back to people. I've been known to trade phone numbers, emails, walk people through processes and procedures. So I hope everybody has a good one, and I am signing off.